Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining with us today, Tuesdays with Grace. I love Tuesdays with Grace.
Do you?
Yeah, a lot of tips and tricks and stuff we've been showing for how long now?
Oh, I can't even remember, but I know we started some in the summer and then we had some full episodes in the fall. So yeah, we're kind of coming to a close as we approach Christmas and the holiday seasons.
Absolutely. My name is Mark Martin, and visiting with us or joining with us,
I'm Angelique. I'm one of the digital educators here at Grace.
Yes. We love doing lives. One thing with doing lives is, please, this is all about the mini quilter. Questions, let us know where you're from. Let us know if you have one on pre-order. Like, this is all you can know. This is get to know the mini quilter.
Absolutely.
As we go over all the questions and the tips and tricks. It's a very fun segment, so thank you so much for joining. But again, please put in the questions. Let us know where you're joining from. I'd love to see where people are joining from. We got Michigan coming in. We have Alabama.
North Carolina. I lived there for a few years.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got on my husband's side, we have some family that way.
Very nice. Yeah, we are very happy, again, to be here with you. But let's just jump right in, and questions will come in. But Angelique, the mini quilter, this has been like the buzz since we launched it a few months ago.
Yeah, no, it is such a great way if you've always wanted to try free motion quilting where you're moving the machine, but you've been intimidated. You're just like, what if I can't do it and I've spent all this money and all of this? This really allows you the opportunity to do that.
Yes.
And one of the other buzzes has been those who are already quilters. They've got like the big setup at home. They're like, I can travel with this. I can go to quilt shows. I can go to retreats. I can take this with me and still get some of my actual quilting done. So, you know, this thing's amazing what you're able to do with it for such a small footprint and price.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the word you used, intimidating, right? When you think of free motion quilting, space, cost, I'm not good. I mean, so many of these negative words can creep into our minds, and the word intimidate is one that really takes people from doing what they love to not doing what they love because they stop themselves because they get intimidated.
Yeah, well, it's that I've seen these beautiful quilts that people do and all these things, and I don't know that I can do that. And this really gives you an opportunity to try and practice and get comfortable with it, because you're not going to get better if you don't try and you don't practice. You know, so you start with some, practice panels. You just get used to the way it feels. I mean, that was my journey. I started out with my home machine. I saw the original Cutie. I wanted to give it a try. This didn't exist yet. If it had, I probably would have gone this route first. But I got the Cutie, but then my machine was just a little too small. It didn't really have any throat space at all. I didn't even know what a throat space was. And so then I got like a bigger machine, and then before I knew it, I got the 15 Pro, and now I've got like the Evolution hoop at home with the 16, and thinking about a 19 now, and I think I might get some automation soon. Like, it just really kind of builds, and it started with, can I do this?
Yeah.
Let me give it a try. And part of that for me was, I have friends who quilt, but they're not really quilters. They like to piece.
Yes.
They send all their quilts out, and I felt weird. And this, I'm not saying this about anybody else. This was just my personal feeling. I felt weird calling myself a quilter if I didn't do the quilting. So I wanted to do everything from start to finish.
Yeah.
And now it's my favorite part. It's like I can't wait to get something pieced so I can get it on the frame and quilt, because that's when I really get to express myself and bring that quilt to life.
I love that. And you started almost like everybody else.
Yeah.
And you worked your way up like everybody else does in this hobby.
Absolutely.
And the mini quilter, you mentioned something. If you had to start and we had the mini quilter out, you would have got the mini quilter.
Probably,
there are many reasons, like with everything, we're going to go over the pros, okay? And there are some cons, but not because of you as a person, but because of the limitations that this mini quilter has. And we'll address the pros, the cons. We'll give you everything you need to know about the mini quilter to keep your excitement, your journey going forward, because we don't want, again, those negative words, intimidation, I can't do this, too expensive. We don't want those creeping in. If this is your hobby and you've been looking at your probably setup that you have in your quilt area, room, whatever you have at home, and you're like, Angelique's stories, like pretty much all of our stories that we hear, now is a great way to understand your next steps. And we'll go over what your next steps are, right? Like what machines fit on this, what you can quilt, what can't you quilt, and why. But again, as we are doing this, please put in the comments, because it's about the mini quilter, do you already like own the mini quilter? Maybe not in your home, but have you pre-ordered it? Do you have yours on order right now? But so many things about this that I love. Let's first talk about the joy that this brings in people's homes, especially those who are new, or maybe they've been quilting for a long time, they just don't have the right tools to do what they want to do, right?
Or the space.
Or the space.
Space can be a big consideration. I kind of see myself, I mean, this is years down the road, but I don't know that I want to give up quilting.
Yes.
But I might want to do some traveling, get a motorhome. This would fit in a motorhome.
Yes.
One of the great things about this is it is super lightweight. It takes 4 screws to put the whole thing together. So it comes in the box that you see behind me, or you did see behind me over here.
Yeah.
It comes with 4 screws. Parts of it are already together. You have these 2 tracks here, and there's 4 screws that hold those tracks in, and it's pretty much assembled after that. There are a couple more screws that just have to be tightened once you slide these in so that you get it where it needs to be, and then you're good to go. This does expand out depending on the length of your machine. So this is my home machine. We recommend a throat of usually about 8 or more.
Yep.
This one's 7.5. So it will work with a 7.5 because I don't have an 8 or bigger, but I do have the 7.5, and it works pretty well with this. I get about 5 inches of quilting space, so a 5-inch block or so.
Yeah.
Which means zone quilting. If you're familiar with our Cutie products, then you know about zone quilting, or if you have one of the other hoop frames that we have, you know about zone quilting. You're just going to do a few more zones on this one than you do with a larger frame. But it's super lightweight, easy to store. You could easily hang it on the wall. I know that's what some people did with the Cutie, but in comparison, this is so much easier to hang if you wanted to.
Yeah. I love what you said about the machines that you don't have that you're starting to use. You have 7.5. So yeah, a 7.5-inch machine. So if you're watching this and you look at your machine line of machines that you have, because we all know quilters have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Becomes an addiction.
Yeah, becomes an addiction. Look what machine is going to be best for you. But this is only 7.5, and it's a great way to start. We touched upon this earlier. It's a great way to start. You got to get your feet wet somehow.
Absolutely.
You need to learn how to do free motion quilting, because like you said earlier, Angelique, practice makes perfect. You form that muscle memory, and what better way to form that with an affordable, lightweight, you can travel with it, put on any table, and we'll get to that here in a minute, but you don't need to invest in a lot of money to start. This is, I mean, you already own your machine, and now you can get your mini quilter. And right now it's $3.99 to start your journey quilting.
Right. So I do want to, in case you don't know what throat length is, like me when I first started, I just looked at I didn't pay attention to the numbers at all. I went, I have a machine that will fit on there, and I didn't really get that. Your throat length is going to be from the back of your machine here to your needle. Right, so you can see this goes out a lot further, but my needle is what's going to create my limitation. So that's what we mean when we talk about throat length, right? So that you know whether or not your machine's going to work, or you're going to get a good experience with that.
Absolutely. Along with your throat length, we have our inside or your quilt area that you can quilt. Mini quilter, the overall dimensions on this, very small. It's 30 inches wide and 27.5 inches long, depending on what table you want to put it on. So pretty much it can fit almost any table out there. So 30 by 27, and that's just the outside dimensions of this product. Now, as we quilt, I love this overview right here. You can see these markings, and let's talk about these markings, because this is going to help you understand your quilt area. Now, I talked about the pros and the cons. Please don't get caught up on the cons of this. Do not. This is the perfect frame to start your journey quilting, regardless of the size of quilt or your throat space that we're talking about. Start somewhere. these markings that we talked about earlier, this is your quiltable area.
And I've got one on the clips here. I can kind of try to get in one of the cameras so we can see it a little bit close up. This one?
Just do one. Yeah, right here.
This one
right there. There you go.
Sorry. That's when you know it's live. Let's just give it a chance to focus here. But there's markings on every one of these clamps. Every one of them has those markings. So you have them here. Doesn't matter which direction you put them. We did diamonds. So if you flip it upside down, you're like, oh, my arrow's not there. It's not like that. But all of them have that all around the whole machine, so you know how deep you can go, how wide you can go when you do that. So that's one of the great features of the mini quilter as well.
Yeah.
And they go on so easy.
They go on so easy. And earlier I was talking to Angelique about these quilt areas. Now, depending on your spot of your needle, okay, pretty much this can be lined up with the markings you see on the top here, and it's pretty darn close. But if your needle is differently placed on your machine, then it will be different at your quilt markings. And so take these really as a wonderful guide, the markings on all these clips. But if you have to, Angelique, there are different ways for you to mark your quilt.
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the things that you could do, because you have the front ones here, you could put a little tape or something on your quilt, because you're going to roll your quilts up, because we have the handles below here. I have seen some questions, why did we put the handles below here?
Ooh.
And that is because it's portable. It's a lot more portable than the over-the-top handles. And we wanted to make this very portable, and lightweight, and so that's why we put those down here as well. But they do adjust, so you can get whatever is comfortable for you. If you like it lower, like maybe you want to sit. I think it's one of the things that I like about this.
Yes.
Is this is something I could actually sit at a table. I have a table that raises and lowers, and I can actually sit, because there's just times like I don't want to stand. I've been standing all day, right? And so I can adjust these to get in a position that's comfortable. I don't know how many people like push quilt their quilts around. If you're watching this and you're like, yeah, I like to push quilt, I get problems in my shoulders. I just went to like this massage therapist place where they dug in, and she's like, I've never seen somebody's shoulders so tight. My traps, all of this. So doing that kind of thing just really aggravates that. This, when you're doing it on something like this, because you're only using a small little area when you're push quilting anyway, you're going to feel that relief in your shoulders as well. So you're going to get that freedom of movement, that more comfortability. You're not fighting with the fabric management, because the frame's going to do that for you.
Absolutely.
So.
Now, bring all the questions. One of them was, this is a Q&A about the mini quilter. Yes, we will not be discussing any other really product that we have. We do have other videos about that, but this is a Q&A on the mini quilter. There's so many things to cover with the mini quilter, so if you do have questions, please bring them in. There is not a dumb question. So I love quilters. They will not like say anything. They're going to just chime in as well, and I love when other quilters chime in. So if you do have a question regarding anything that we talked about so far, bring it up, or anything that you've been thinking about the mini quilter, please bring it up as well. Okay, so we have the area that we talked about with markings. The size of quilt is a big thing when it's quilting.
Right.
Regardless, if you're new, you're a veteran at the quilting, you sit down to push quilt, but there's a reason why we do all the quilting sizes that we have. We have bigger frames, larger frames, and the mini quilter is really ideal for a few sizes, even though you can quilt up to any size. It's not ideal to do that because it's zone quilting. And as Angelique mentioned earlier, your size of throat. So keep that in mind as you're zone quilting, how much movement you're doing of the fabric. So what are pretty much the few sizes that we really that the mini quilter is really best known for?
Well, like we said, because it's zone quilting, you can technically do any size, but you are dealing with a smaller zone, which means you're going to be hooping and re-hooping quite a bit.
Yep.
So we really think for best experience, you really want to do anything larger than a throw on this. So baby quilts, wall hangings, things like that are going to be really great for practicing on. Like the quilt sandwich I have here is a really good example of a good size that you can use for that.
Absolutely. And we want to pretty much minimize the amount of zone quilting you're doing, especially with the type of machines that this is perfectly paired for. Any domestic machines from really 8, like you mentioned, this can go up to a 13-inch throat. So
if you have a little Rebel at home, or you've been thinking about a little Rebel, but you were like, I don't know if I actually want to get a full frame, I don't have space for it, you can use this with the little Rebel as well. You're just going to get more depth.
Yep. So zone quilting, Angelique, it's not really new to Grace Company.
Right.
We've been zone quilting now since we came out with our cutie frame about 4 years ago. When we zone quilt, is there any best practices to do as you move in the fabric? What pattern size you're using? Because you only have so big of a throat. You don't really want to do large patterns. Walk us through maybe what is in the life of those who own the mini quilter. How easy is it to zone? And how much time consuming can it take if you are zoning a smaller quilt?
Well, I wouldn't say that you can't do large patterns. I think it's just you have to think about where you're going with that pattern. So one of the things that you can do is you kind of finish. So, we always say start with meandering, right? Because you can get comfortable with the movement of the machine, and it looks good no matter what you do, right? So because you're just meandering, you're just wandering around, right? So start with that, maybe add some loops, add some stars, things like that. But basically what you can do is just like when you get to a spot where you're like, okay, I need to stop, you can leave your needle down. You take most of your clips off, and then you just carefully move the quilt sandwich with the machine to the next starting spot, clip everything back into place, make sure it's all smooth, and you continue with that pattern. You can go left to right, you can go forward, you could go back if you need to, you just you get used to that space. And one of the things that they have done to really help the beginners in quilting with this is when you get it in the box, you get this really neat training system that we have for it. And it's a paper with a grid. You can practice drawing on it, your designs. You place it in here, you get an idea, you mark using your machine, like what is my quilting window? You can cut that out, and then now like this is the space that I have to quilt. And you could, I think it's great to laminate it, but if you're like, no, I want to use it to drawing on, you can also get a digital copy, and you can print out as many as you want. So that way you can practice beforehand, practice with, you can put it on there and actually just move your machine before you do any sewing, kind of like a pantograph.
I love that.
Right, so you get kind of used to that movement and you move on. So we really, really thought about how do we make this beginner friendly.
Yes, that training that you talked about is awesome. It does make it beginner friendly. You nailed it. Everybody's in their own walk of life when it comes to the quilting. Again, push quilting, pantographs, edge to edge, the pattern sizes, the strain that is on your body, whatever work you're doing. And so when we designed this, that's exactly what we did. We thought of how can we help the beginners, how can we help them get that muscle memory, understand quilting, because once you understand this and the practice that you'll become.
Totally translates.
Yes, exactly.
And that's something I kind of want to point out too. Like I said, I started on a hoop frame. And now I work here, I get to play with all the frames. I get to play with the really big ones and the 3 rails and 2 rails and you name it. And I tell you, because I started with zone quilting, it has really opened up my abilities to better place things because you're kind of forced to a little bit more to think about that when you're zone quilting. And there's some things where I feel like it works out better for me when I zone quilt versus when I'm doing a rolling frame, because I feel like there's a little bit more flexibility in some of the stuff that I can do than I can like on the edges with that, because you get used to using leaders on the sides that you don't think about doing sometimes with the rolling frame because you're like, I've got the little clips.
That's a good point.
So and that does kind of bring something up as well. So on this side over here, we have, just like the cutie, it just comes separately, but you can get the Benjis. And they will work with this. They work the same way that the cutie ones do. You just turn these upside down. And so if you're doing something really small, like a stocking, that's kind of a hint. So if you're watching now, come watch Winter Market, you'll know what I'm talking about. But those slide right on there, and then you can use the bungees.
So a couple of things I want to talk about then. Let's talk about the bungee. That's perfect for your shorter quilt, or if you have one side hanging over. Because this is a hoop style frame, you may have some of your fabric hanging over. So let's address how nice it is to keep your fabric all uniform, all easy. We all know when you push quilt, your fabric, it needs to go somewhere. So it's being pushed to the throat of the machine. I've even seen some people lug fabric over their shoulder. So this is designed to help your experience so much easier. We talked a little bit about like the rolling frame, how you like the zoning a little bit more because of what I could entail on help you learn a couple of things. This mini quilter, a lot of what we use on our more expensive frames is really, I mean, we didn't sacrifice a whole lot. We still have like the nice ratcheting system. The way these work is when you twist around, you can hear that click, so it like ratchets your fabric. But we also want to have it rolled up, and so we have these built-in straps all around the frame. We have the two in the
Updated
front.
bungees.
Yes.
So if you were not a fan of the first bungees they came out, and
This is
I know
better.
why this is so much better.
Yes.
Should we show them how to put a quilt
Yeah,
on
let's
so
do
we
it.
can demonstrate how this works?
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to take all these
And as we're
quilts
taking
off.
these off, the bungees that we have on here, you notice that they're on the sides. They're not in the way. They're down on the front and here towards the back, okay? And when you put these on, you're going to find out how easy and uniform everything will stay.
Let's see how I have this all folded up. All right. So the other thing too, like you had mentioned, like the push quilting,
Mm-hmm.
when you push quilt, especially if it's a large quilt, you really have to manage that fabric. And so basting becomes a very, very important thing. Spray basting, pinning all over the place, that kind of thing. And that is time consuming on its own. With this, you can baste. There are some things that I'll still spray baste or I'll pin baste, but I usually only pin baste a little bit.
Yeah.
Like just maybe the top or something.
Yep.
You can load it straight away without actually having to worry about any of that. It's because it's going to help you hold that batting, hold that bottom
Yes.
fabric, that backing fabric, and just make things so much easier for you.
Yes. What I was saying earlier about us taking some of the same concepts from our rolling frame, one is the tautness of your fabric up top. We want you to have it nice and taut, right? We don't want it bouncing around. We don't want it flimsy. And so the mini quilter with these clips, you will see when we're done here how nice and taut the top is here for your quilting needs.
So these, you just roll this up, and this is adjust. So right now, because I'm at the beginning of the quilt, I have it at the perfect height, but I can adjust it higher as my roll gets bigger. And these they just come right around and they clip right into here. So they stay out of the way, which is really nice. They're not going to get caught up on the machine.
You won't sew
You're
them
not going to
into
sew them
yes,
over.
You won't
I think
sew them
everyone
over.
that had the original cutie went through that at some
Yes.
point. And then you want to do the bottom side here. Make sure it's nice and smooth. It's very helpful to kind of use this to pull and give it a twist. It's like he mentioned with the ratcheting system. You just twist that. And then I'm a peeker. I know some people like to feel I'm a peeker. I want to make sure that it's good. And so that's where these really kind of come in handy.
Yeah.
So I always do these last. Because that's what's going to help hold that. And so now, if Mark does it right.
Oh, I will do it right.
Yeah. So we're nice and
Nice
there
and
should be
taut.
a little bit. There should be a little bit of
You
bounce.
don't want it flimsy though, right? You
Right.
don't want it flimsy, you don't want it limp, you don't want it looking like this side here where it just
Right.
hangs. You want it nice and taut, just like all the other frames.
But you should be able to grab your finger a
Yes,
little bit,
yes,
right?
that's
So
a
like
great
not a
tip.
lot, because if it's too tight, then especially depending on your machine, you're going to break thread. Because it's going to affect all that. So
Yeah.
you don't want to do that. And now, how do I get to my handles? Well, I'm going to roll this up as well. And you do have those
And you can
straps
see,
on the side.
Yeah, and this is an easily one-person job. I would love to help.
I don't
That way
need
you
your
can go,
help.
but she doesn't need my help. And this is easy. So when you own
Because
this,
it doesn't matter how wrinkly this is down here.
Right.
I'm not using it. So these will just wrap around and clip into here. But then also with my machine, because I don't have a lot of quilt space, I can, if I'm like, I know I'm going to be moving a lot, I don't even necessarily have to use these. But I can fold up the excess over here. I have some little beach clips that I'll use so that this doesn't get in the way of my handles, and I'm ready to pretty much
That's
quilt.
right. That's right. The rest of this stuff will end up coming in here later. So what you really need to worry about is how this quilt area looks. You want it nice and taut. So that's simple. When you're done with this setup, now you can go ahead and quilt. You can go from edge to edge. You can do your patterns. Your quilting now is all up to you. Do the thing that makes you happy. There's different ways of doing quilting, from tracing patterns to just free motion quilting. But when we're done, you're going to zone your fabric, which means we're going to hoop it. And that takes, when you first learn to do this, it could take, I don't know, I don't want to give it time, but it's really quick.
Minutes, yeah.
And then you get in the groove and understanding what you need to do, so it becomes really, really fast.
I would say the longest part is really getting your quilt sandwich prepped. And then once you start sewing on it, it starts to hold itself together. And one of the questions we get a lot is, where do I start? Do I start on the left? Do I start on the right? Do I start in the center? And I say it depends on what your quilt looks like. Sometimes you have a center motif, or maybe that's the part where you're like, I want to focus, I know what I want to do here, and move out, and you're going to smooth out as you go. And I think that's a lot more common with push quilting as well. But you can also start on the left, move to the right, move your way down, and so on. So I think it really is up to you, the creative person, where you want to start. Because there's been quilts when I'm like, well, I could start up here, but I honestly just don't know what I want to put up here yet. But I have this really cool centerpiece, and I know what I want to start with this. So let me focus on that, and then the inspiration will come for the sides. So,
that's right.
Because this is going to help you manage that.
Yeah, the mini quilter, all it is just like managing. All it does is sit on a table, hold your fabric for you. The quilting, the artwork, the what you do on your fabric is now up to you how you want to start it. Like Angelique says, how you want to start it. But the mini quilter holds your fabric for you, so you don't have to worry about trying to keep it all nice and nice and taut.
And so you don't have that weight, because these can get heavy depending on what you're using, right? And you can throw some minky on here.
Yes.
I'm in the middle of it's probably a little larger than a throw size. And I put kind of a polyester flannel stuff on the back of it. Boy, that thing is really heavy. I was just lugging it to the car the other day. But yeah, so all those things are going to affect having to deal with that, and this is going to take that weight off for you.
Yes. Because this is a very basic frame, Angelique, there are still some accessories that you can use on this frame to get your quilting needs. Now, there are quite a few accessories that's not compatible with this frame, and it's not intended to. This mini quilter is intended to help you start your journey. It's a very basic, open the door. It's a very basic way of opening the door. You can get your foot through that door, you get excited, and then from there you can take your next steps up. But this is the perfect way to start your journey when you think you can't. When you tell yourself you can't afford it. When you start using words like that, as I mentioned earlier. So this is the best way to start your quilting. You can use, even like ruler work. And what I love about this is you have your handles. When you're push quilting and you want to do ruler work, either you have to be a really champ at it and a superstar. You have to be a superstar. Because you're, doing a lot. You're trying to move the ruler or hold the ruler in place while you're trying to move the fabric and any other variable that comes into play.
That's why the gloves, to try to help.
Do the gloves, yes.
But imagine you have your hands up like this. This hurts just thinking about it.
Yes. That's why we have the handles, which is nice. You can now move it, and this is super easy to move. With one hand, you can move this around while you hold your ruler up here to follow and trace patterns. And so the things that you want to do, you can still pretty much do on the mini quilter.
Yeah. Just when you're doing quilting work, you got to think about your base.
Yes.
When you're doing any kind of ruler work, I said quilting, I meant ruler.
The base.
But you need a wider base to do that. So, but I can demonstrate a little bit of quilting on this if you want, and then we can kind of show how you would move that.
Yeah. Let's do it. And then again, bring in your question. I know there've been some coming in, which we're answering in the chat. But how much is this? Was asked. So this is only $299.95. There you go. The pricing, $299.95 to do all your quilting needs up to pretty much like a ideal size is baby, a throw, a table runner. But look at her, just moving it.
Just using my fingers. Because the wheels are so nice. couple other things we should probably talk about, and I'll come back over here and finish that and we can show moving it, is that in order for this to work, you do need a machine that you can drop your feed dogs on.
Yes.
And you'll see I do have a special attachment for doing any kind of quilting. Every machine that I know of comes with their version of a hopping foot of some sort like that, so you'll want something like that. I've seen darning foots. Brothers is a little bit more oval. This one is kind of dual purpose. You can do ruler work with this particular one, so all those things are out there. I've even seen ones for other machines that are echoing ones.
Yeah.
So there are ones out there for your machine, just depends on what you have. Go out there, take a look, but those are the couple of things that you have to remember with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, for those who are joining right now, thank you for joining. Wherever you're joining from, we appreciate it. But I just love just listening to this go, just watching it go, how easy Angelique was moving around. Very simple to move around with just one hand or two hands. So if you have a machine, we've discussed kind of the limitations of this frame. There's so many pros you can do. We're right now going to move it, which is really nice. You can see her now take all the clips off, and I'll go ahead and start on this side.
Because I'm going to go up this on this.
Yep, and she's going to move it. And she left her needle down. She mentioned that earlier. She left that needle down, so when she moves it up, it would all be in the same spot.
And I need to leave myself a little bit of space, about an inch here where my needle is, so that I can get my clips back on.
Yep.
And then what I usually do is I'll do the one side where this is, and then make sure my other side is straight. Did you get me straight? That's just the shorter one. So the back ones are a little bit longer.
Yep, you're nice and straight.
And then back to doing the front. Thank you. You see, it doesn't take long at all.
Nope.
You get really proficient in it, so it just becomes very second nature. Just remember to give it a little twist. Again, I like to peek just to be sure. And also remember this section here, because you can see I only had about, like I said, about 5 inches of quilting space. This doesn't even matter if it's wrinkly underneath, because I'm not going to get there. Once I move it back forward, then I can get it straight. So.
All right. Question, Christina says, is this the new Mini? I don't know how to answer that, because I think this is the only Mini, so I guess this is the new Mini Quilter that we've been talking about for the last few months here. It is arriving, and we're shipping them out in the orders that they've come in. So if you placed your order already, we will start shipping these in the order that they placed. And we've actually had our first container that came in of these, and so they've been shipping out to all those customers who first placed the order. So that's exciting news. So good question on that one. Yeah, so as we're done talking, she is done moving.
Done.
That's how simple that is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then I could just, continue on. You can see I've been fiddling with this particular one for a while, just playing with it. But yeah, and that's what you do. Some people will go to the thrift store and they'll just get some sheets and an old blanket to, make the quilt sandwich on and just get practicing. And if I can do it, like seriously, anyone can do this.
You got to give yourself some credit.
I'm not a great drawer, I'm not really a great artist that way, but I can do more with this than I ever could, because I can use both hands for the control, because you can't draw with 2 hands, because I can't. So,
Christina has another question, which is a good question. The size of throw. She has a Bernina 7-inch machine. So ideally, like 8 inches up to 13.
Yeah.
Okay. You can use a 7. Earlier, Angelique was
Mine's
talking about.
7.5.
Yep, this is a 7.5. So earlier, Christina and everybody else, the throw space is what you're limited. So with a 7-inch machine, that's how much workspace you can have as you're quilting.
Yeah, because you lose a little bit
with the rail through the throat.
This is 7.5. I'm getting about 5.
Yeah.
So I'm losing a couple of inches, and of course, as my roll builds here, and this is typical with any kind of zone quilting, as my roll builds, I start to lose another inch or so there. So you probably can with the 7-inch, but I don't know that you're going to be super happy. But if you're like, I just want to get started, and you're not ready to invest in that larger machine, I would give it a try. And then if you're like, yes, I do really like this, I just wish I had a little bit more space, then it's time to think about that upgrade.
That's the whole upgrade. when I have space and time? That's a question for you as you're like, okay, I'm going to save up. I already have this machine. The mini quilter is $299. I'm going to get it, bring it in, put it on the table, and start quilting. Now, from there, you can say, okay, next year or 5 months from now, I'm going to save up and go. But this is a great way to get your foot into that door to do all your quilting with a easy setup with the machine you already own. And that's what I love about the mini quilter is it's perfectly paired with your machine that you already own because you already know how to use it.
Yep.
You're not needing to train. The whole mini quilter process is not really a training as well because you're just using your machine while this just holds your fabric.
Yep.
So very simple.
Very simple, very easy to use. Like I said, some people said it looks great for traveling, and I think that's what a lot of us are looking at. That already quilt is, I want to take this to retreat, because there's times that I'm at a retreat that, you know, I'm doing like a table runner or something, and I want to get the whole thing finished. There was one last March. Every time you got something finished, you got to put your name in a drawing.
Oh, okay.
And you got to ring the bell. So it was like, I got to ring it for piecing, I got to ring it for quilting, and I got to ring it for binding, and all because I was push quilting, and I wish I would have had this, because I would have been done that much faster.
That's awesome. Now, we've talked about who's buying this, right? If you don't have space or you're looking to start, you're that beginning starter. Even if you, like Angelique, you know, in her position, she would have bought it too. Now think of, I'm going to go a different route here. Now we have a lot of grandmas, grandpas, uncles, moms. If you're a quilter and you look at your daughter or son or grandchild or neighbor, friend, who's, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, this will be... I can't imagine when you're like 9 years old and they want to quilt like mom or like grandma, but they don't have the means, you know, the frame they're using or whatever. And I know now a lot of the younger generation has these types of machines that their mom or grandma bought for them to learn how to do their own quilting. Now they can quilt like you. This would be a perfect present for the younger generation to learn how to quilt.
You're basically going to give the gift of quilting in a different way.
Yes.
So
I love that.
instead of just giving them a quilt, you're giving them the gift of being able to create and continue that to the next generation and the next generation.
I love that. And they're starting with good habits from the very beginning. They're starting by moving the machine around the fabric instead of moving the fabric underneath the machine, right?
Yeah.
I love that. That's a great way to say that. If there's any more questions, please bring them in. I know we're getting close to the end of our time here, Angelique. The mini quilter. If we're going to wrap this up and talk about it, easy to set up. You talked about 4 screws.
4 screws. 1 box, 4 screws.
Yeah.
There's even a little cheat sheet thing that you can keep nearby. There's a place for you to write down your information about your quilt. It even tells you the best way to set up, you know, to cut your backing and your batting. It's right there in this handy little clippy thing, so that it, you know, whatever questions you have, even talks about ways to zone. So we kind of talked about starting in the center and which directions to move from there if you want to do that. So so a lot of great information.
A lot of great information.
Of course, a user manual, because everything comes with a user manual.
Makes it easy. Can you use a QCT software with the mini quilter? You cannot. Again, we talked about limitations, and not in a bad way. Remember, this mini quilter is meant for different purposes. If you're looking to do automation, our Cutie frame and the rest of our frames can use the QCT with that one.
It's way too small to want to do automation with. But if I am correct, I do believe you can hook up a laser and you can do pantographs. So that's kind of like automation, just you're automatically following the pattern instead. But
that's okay. That's okay. You're moving up. Again, this is just to start you taking the next step in your journey, Because if you think about it, why are you taking these steps anyway? If you look at your machines, right, you're taking the next steps because of your involvement. You're growing differently with your hobby. So the mini quilter is just that one of those ways that just gets you started. That's all this is. It's not meant to be the end all say all. It's not meant to like get it and like, well, I didn't know it was not supposed to do that.
Right.
It's not supposed to solve all the answers, but it does solve some of the important ones on a budget. You can travel with it. You can take it places. And you can start your quilting, and those are the ones that it covers really well.
And like we talked about kind of in the beginning, that being intimidated, I cannot think of a day that goes by when I'm not on a quilting forum where somebody has said, I just ordered my frame and my big machine and it's still sitting in a box, or it's been stories if it's been sitting in a box for a year because I'm afraid to get started. this is that gateway.
Yes.
It's that, where you're not like, I'm not going to destroy something that's thousands of dollars, or, I can't do this, and because you're not in it for
Right.
much,
Absolutely. Christina nailed that perfect right there, right? This would be perfect interdisciplinary.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of been the story so far with Angelique and myself. This is the perfect way to start your quilting. Again, it doesn't answer all the questions, but it is the perfect way to start your quilting. The last thing I'm going to say is the price. The price at $2.99 to do your quilting.
Yeah,
when you go to a fabric store and you're trying to buy some fabric, and when you walk, it's like going to Costco. You go in to spend $20 and you walk out spending $400. You're like, how am I? What the?
I'm lucky to be able to find a quilt kit for $2.99.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not kidding.
That's right. That's right. So $2.99, you can do your baby quilts, you can do table runners, and even you can do twin, but really baby quilts, table runners are really, really ideal for this. Great way to start. Wall hangings. Again, the size is
Placemats.
Yes, placemats.
Home decor.
Yeah.
Stuffed animals.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, because you just quilt it on the thing and then cut it up, sew
There
it
you go.
together, and you have the machine that's already going to do that part too.
Yep.
I mean, you're only limited by your imagination.
Exactly. Oh, I love that too. 30 inches by 27 inches is really the outside dimensions of this little guy. Goes on almost any table that you already own.
Sit, stand.
Sits down. Yeah. Yep, sit or stand. So what else I think we covered everything.
That's a good point too. Christina says you can spend that much to have someone quilt it for you.
Yeah.
Like my friend's, her cousin does it for her for like 100 and 150 a quilt.
Yep.
I mean, and if she wants it bound, she charges her a little bit more for binding. So that's a really good point. When you're doing it yourself, you can say from start to finish,
end, yes.
I made this for you. This is a quilt. It's like a hug that I'm giving you.
Oh man, you're coming up with a lot. Like these are all perfect. Okay, so the mini quilter, it is available now, as you can see that. You can go through all of our partners. You can go online and check where our dealers are. They have a mini quilter. They may not have one, because like I said, we just got them, but you can order through all of our dealers that we have. We have really good dealers. You can order direct through us as well. Support your local dealer though. Go online, check that dealer locator to see who's next to you, and support your local dealer. $299.95 to do your quilting. You can't beat that from start to finish.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's your quilt. It's a hug, like you said, right?
You're giving a hug.
Yep. Well, I don't know if there's any other question. I think we covered everything too. Exciting, like just
so exciting.
Perfect. It's like
I know
a stocking
we were
stuffer.
excited for this to come
Yes.
in, and like I said, we quilt on the big frames too, so we were all very excited.
Yep,
And
Jessica,
one last
excited.
thing, it's so pretty. Look at the colors of this.
Yeah, it is pretty. Last I want to address, Anita says, a lot of people say this, I dream of owning one of these. Well, hopefully, Anita, that your dream is only $299.95. It's not overly expensive, and it's a great way to test where you want to go with quilting, because you want to learn somehow. You need to be able to get in it somehow, and some of the tools that you have or want to get can be a little more expensive than others, but this one I can tell you for $299.95, it is probably going to be one of the best investments a young quilter can make, a beginning quilter can make, and even a quilter who's been doing it for a while can make.
Well, and also when you start building up your skills and you are ready to move on, then you can gift this to the next person as well.
Yep.
So it's not like it's just going to go in the trash or something.
Right.
You can give it to the
you can
next
pass it
person. You
down.
can pass it to the
Yes.
next one you want. Like, try this. I had so much fun with
Yeah.
this. Somebody asked, Teresa asked about the bungees. You can find the bungees on our website, I believe under accessories, so graceframe.com.
Yep, they're really good. Okay, well, Angelique, this has been fun. Thank you all for joining. I loved it for the comments. Thank you. There was some joining from Canada, all over the States. Yep. So thank you all. It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
And we would, over here, our digital education team,
Yes.
we would love it if you shared some of the work that you do when you get your mini quilter.
Yeah.
Just go on our Facebook, our Instagram, make a post, show us what you made with the mini quilter. I think that would be really neat to see.
That'd be great. Well, again, thank you. Again, ask for Santa. Get yours now so we can get it shipped. You may or may not get it before Christmas, just because of how many orders we have coming in. But you can still ask for it. You can still get it. You can get it in January, possibly the end of December, but don't let that stop you. Get yours on order, visit our dealers, and support your local dealers. But thank you so much for joining with us. And really, it's...
Your best gifts come in mini packages.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Happy
Thanks
holidays.
for joining us.